It's Tuesday, November 19th, 2013, and welcome to Space Station Live. Looking down now at the International Space Station Flight Control Room, located at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, at the Orbit 2 team, controlling systems on board the orbiting laboratory. The team right now is being led by Flight Director Ed Van Cise there on the right. Joining him at the Capcom position, serving as the communication link between astronauts in space and those down here on the ground, is David St. Jacques. And those astronauts in space right now are the crew of Expedition 38. A 6-man crew from countries all across the globe. Starting across the back row there is Russian cosmonaut from the left, Russian cosmonaut Mikhail Turin, then NASA astronaut Rick Mastracchio, Russian cosmonaut Sergei Rosansky, and another NASA astronaut Mike Hopkins all the way on the right. In the front row on the left, JAXA astronaut Koichi Wakata, and in the right there, current space station commander Oleg Kotov. On board the station, the crew engaged in a variety of science experiments and maintenance work today, beginning with Expedition 38 commander Oleg Kotov, who earlier this morning was working with 2 different Russian experiments, the first of which is the Motocard experiment, which looks to study the nature of locomotion disturbances in long-term space flights. The astronaut strapped into the treadmill for this and assisted by another Russian on board. Aside from that, Oleg Kotov engaged in the Russian SINAR experiment, using imagery devices on board the International Space Station to search for bioproductive areas of the world's oceans, both for scientific research and for commercial fishing efforts. Meanwhile, Russian cosmonaut Sergei Rosansky has been tasked with replacing a number of fans throughout the Russian segment today, taking out older models and replacing them with newer low-noise modules. Following that, he'll be doing some noise level measurements, some acoustic measurements throughout the Russian segment to monitor for crew health settings. Aside from that, he'll also be working today and doing some crew medical officer proficiency training. Each of the astronauts on board getting some training in emergency medical care for themselves and their crewmates on board. Meanwhile, NASA astronaut Mike Hopkins dedicated a good portion of his day today to some leak tests on a spacesuit on board the International Space Station. The one that he was focusing on today has been the subject of a variety of tests and repair work over the past few months. It was worn by ESA astronaut Luca Parmitano, who recently departed from the International Space Station during a July 16th spacewalk. Back over the summer, the suit developed a water leak, and over the past few months, astronauts on board and teams on the ground have worked through to figure out the source of the leak and conduct a variety of repairs and analysis on the suit. And today is one of the final steps in certifying the suit for eventual reuse on board the International Space Station, returning it to service. So Hopkins powering up the suit and setting through a number of different leak checks and other tests, again all to certify that the problem has gone away and the suit will soon be able to return to service. Aside from that suit work today, Hopkins on task to take some photos of the microsatellites that were deployed earlier this morning, and also doing some maintenance work on the station's life support systems, pressurizing an O2 tank on board, and also doing some quick routine maintenance on the water recovery management system. Also on board, Russian cosmonaut Mikhail Turin doing some preventative maintenance himself on the ventilation systems in the Russian Zvezda service module. He'll also be doing a quick on-orbit hearing assessment. The astronauts constantly tracking various aspects of their health, including hearing, throughout their long-duration space flights. NASA astronaut Rick Mastracchio, right off the bat this morning, engaged in the microbiome experiment, which looks to investigate the impact that space travel has on both the human immune system and also what's known as the individual's microbiome, which is the collection of microbes that naturally live on and inside of the human body at any given time. Mastracchio also took some time out to speak with reporters for a public affairs event on board the International Space Station. Also is doing continuing some work that he was doing yesterday with some of the spacewalking tools on board the station, installing a torque analyzer kit on what's known as the pistol grip tool, or the drill that astronauts use during spacewalks to manipulate a number of devices on the outside portion of station. So he'll be doing some data gathers using that tool. And then the final astronaut on board from JAXA, Koichi Wakata, the Japanese member of the crew, earlier this morning was working to deploy a number of satellites from the GEM airlock. Those satellites part of the Small Satellite Orbital Deployer. You can see them shooting out there using the exposed facility and a robotic arm on the outer portion of GEM. And we'll be hearing a little bit more about that later on in the hour.